we're almost ready to start, and I told you that I want to start from Saudi, because this is the day of Al-Hilal with many movements impacting European transfers, and so let's start with Al-Hilal. And so, Nacho, I think it's time to start with Al-Hilal because we saw many big names here on our graphic, here on DAZN Transfer. I wanted to start discussing the manager because today the president of Al-Hilal arrives in Paris, and tomorrow in Paris will arrive the new head coach, an important name, Simone Inzaghi, who agreed a deal today with Al-Hilal. 2-year contract, 26 million euros net salary, so basically 20 million more per year compared to what he was earning at Inter. He had a meeting with Inter board today to discuss all the exit conditions, and everything was agreed. So Inter are looking for a new coach, De Zerbi, Cesc Fabregas, let's see what's going to happen there. But Simone Inzaghi is going to Al-Hilal, and this is a massive signing in terms of coach for the Saudi club.
Yeah, Fabrizio, it's a huge statement from Al-Hilal in terms of sending a message to the other rivals that they will have in the World Cup, because I think and I see that they are trying to be kind of a powerhouse in this tournament, and they don't want to be just for holidays there. No, they want to lift the trophy, and that's what they are saying by signing Simone Inzaghi. The first thing, the most important thing that we have to say about Inzaghi is that he led Inter to 2 Champions League finals. And he also won of course, the Scudetto. Yeah. But the main important thing for me is that in the international stage, he has proved that he is a great manager, and that's what we will see in the World Cup.
Yeah, with this 3-5-2, this is what he's going to try to bring to Al-Hilal. I think it's going to be a very interesting appointment, this for Al-Hilal, and as you said, it's a statement. But this is not over, because obviously now they need the players. Okay, you have the coach, they already have many superstars, but since they left the Neymar deal in January, with Neymar leaving the club, they need some superstars. I want to start from something from this morning, because they wanted Bruno Fernandes from Manchester United. They offered a crazy salary to the player, prepared to offer crazy money to Man United, over 100 million pounds. But Bruno, this morning, called the president directly, from what I'm told, and said, I'm sorry, but I want to play for Manchester United. I want to continue in Europe, so this deal is not happening. But Al-Hilal will be very aggressive on different targets, because one of the names I want to mention for the midfield is a Brazilian player, is Ederson, midfielder playing for Atalanta. I follow Serie A closely, being Italian, and he's been one of the best players in Serie A in terms of midfielders in the recent years, with the Brazilian national team, with Carlo Ancelotti. So Atalanta expect a bid from Al-Hilal, 60 million euros to come in the next days. So let's see what happens there for Ederson.
And Fabrizio,
targets.
With the rejection of from Bruno Fernandes, can we expect other signings for the midfield from Al-Hilal?
I think yes, because Ederson is just one of the names. For example, another name I'm hearing is a player who won the Serie A title this year, and is Zambo Anguissa with Napoli. Did very well under Antonio Conte, also under Luciano Spalletti before, and is another target for Al-Hilal. So I think they will be very busy with midfield, where they already have some fantastic players, Ruben Neves, Milinkovic-Savic, and then keep an eye on more players, because they have a club-to-club agreement with AC Milan for Theo Hernandez. We don't need any word to describe Theo, for sure, one of the best left-backs in the world. In Serie A, he's been killing it in the recent years. This season was not the best one, but in general, his experience in Serie A has been fantastic, and Al-Hilal have an agreement for 30 million euros plus 5 in add-ons. So club-to-club is done. Then let's see what Theo wants to do, whether he wants to continue in Europe or try this experience in Saudi. Someone told me a few minutes ago, before the live stream, that also Atletico Madrid made a call for Theo Hernandez to understand the potential conditions of the deal. Let's see. Of course, for Milan, this is big money from Saudi. And then,
you know, the club is familiar to the Hernandez family.
Of course. So that would be interesting to see Theo again in Europe. And then the final name we have to mention is Victor Osimhen, because they need a striker, they want a striker, and Victor Osimhen is a concrete target. 75 million euros release clause available now. He's back to Napoli from Galatasaray loan, and so Victor Osimhen could be the new striker for Simone Inzaghi. Now, let's give them some time to sign all the documents with Inzaghi next 24 hours, and then.
Regarding Osimhen, are they gonna face some opposition, you know, from the Premier League, for example, because it's a player that we'll label like a perfect striker for such a league like the Premier League, right?
For sure, and he was already a target for Chelsea, Man United 1 year ago, so let's see what happens now. Premier League clubs like Victor Osimhen, as you mentioned, the profile of the player is perfect for Premier League. There is one big problem, and this the financial side of the deal. Not just the 75 million euros, but also the salary. It's a big salary, 12 million euros net per season. For Saudi, is not a big salary. For Premier League, is a big salary, and so that's why probably they are the big favorites to make it happen with Victor Osimhen. But now to enter into all the details of Al-Hilal project, Al-Hilal vision, and how they arrived to the FIFA Club World Cup, we have with us our reporter for Al-Hilal, who will be there at the FIFA Club World Cup, telling us absolutely everything on this competition and on the ambitions of the club. Huda Abid, we wait to hear from you. Ciao.
Hi Fabrizio, we are live from Al-Hilal Stadium here in Riyadh. Al-Hilal is making big moves ahead of the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup, which kick off on June 14 in the US. With FIFA opening a special transfer window from June 1st to 10th, the club is looking to bring in top players just for the tournament. The headline today, Bruno Fernandes has turned down a massive offer from Al-Hilal. So now the club is targeting Brazilian midfielder Ederson from Atalanta. Talks with the Italian side are already underway. Another name on their list is AC Milan left back Theo Hernandez. The French international is expected to make a decision soon. And up front, Al-Hilal has a dream target. Victor Osimhen, the Nigerian striker, currently on loan at Galatasaray from Napoli, is attracting attention across Europe. But Al-Hilal are pushing hard. As for the bench, a major decision to be coming soon. According to Ariadia, Inter Milan coach Simone Inzaghi is expected to respond to Al-Hilal offer this week. Big changes might be coming, and Al-Hilal fans have every reason to be excited. Huda Abid, Riyadh.
And thank you for this contribution, and I agree with what she said, not just on the transfers, but also the final line. They have a reason to be excited, absolutely. And we can see together, Nacho, also the potential starting 11 of Al-Hilal, because it's quite impressive, no?
Let's see it, and to be fair, Fabrizio, it's quite an offensive lineup.
Yeah.
A lot of attacking players.
It's always about this when we do the dream target lineup, no?
Actually, we have two fullbacks deployed as center backs, so...
Yeah, it's part of the game.
Yeah,
when you dream in the summer, it's part of the game.
It's going to be a goal feast if they play all together. Looking at this starting 11, Fabrizio, let me ask you about Alexander Mitrovic as well, because I've seen some rumors about his future and he may depart, right?
Yeah, he's been an important part of this team, but the understanding is that if Victor Osimhen joins or any other top striker, Mitrovic could leave the club. There is some interest from Europe. Also, I'm told that internally in Saudi, he could be a solution for different clubs, so staying in the Saudi Pro League, but just changing the club. So we will follow the situation, but for sure it's going to be an interesting name to watch.
Now it's time, Fabrizio, for me to ask you for percentages, because you know that we all love percentages when
I know.
We are talking about transfers. So I'm going to ask you for some names that right now are into every transfer rumor, and you're going to tell me how
maybe
you
the percentage can change while we're live, because many things are...
Yeah, your phone is still ringing, so
yeah.
It can change every minute.
Yeah.
But let me ask you firstly about goalkeepers and Chelsea, which is, you know, something that you've talked about a lot in the past. But this time it's all about Mike Maignan, the Milan goalkeeper. What about Chelsea?
This would be a fantastic signing, in my opinion, and Chelsea are really aggressive on this one because they want to get a goalkeeper before the Club World Cup. The name of Mike Maignan is from a few hours ago, because I understood this morning that Chelsea made contact with AC Milan for Mike Maignan, and the percentage I'm giving for this one is 60%. Because my understanding is that Chelsea will try to start immediately negotiation by sending an offer. The player has a new contract proposal on the table from AC Milan, but it's already since February, March. It's 3-4 months now, and he's still not signing that new deal. So it's quite a dangerous situation for Milan, 1 year left on his contract, to lose a player like Mike Maignan. So for sure, Chelsea will try to reach an agreement. Chelsea will push, and Maignan, from what I can tell you, has been also approved by the coach.
I guess from this news that Maresca doesn't trust any of his keepers. I mean,
it's been a difficult season for Chelsea goalkeepers. Let's be fair, because Robert Sanchez didn't have a great season. Maybe in the second part was better, but the first one was not the one expected. So that's why Chelsea have many goalkeepers. Also Mike Penders, who is a young guy who is part of the project for the future, but probably now with Champions League football, Club World Cup, many ambitions, they want someone who can be a guarantee for present and also future, like Mike Maignan.
Fabrizio, let's not leave Stamford Bridge, because they also want wingers. They also want to sign some players for the flanks, and that's where Bino Gittens appears. What about them?
He's a player they love at Chelsea, and here my percentage is 65%, so even more optimistic than Mike Maignan, because my understanding is that Chelsea have started concrete conversations with Borussia Dortmund, waiting for an official bid to come quite soon. It's going to be in excess of £35 million, from what I'm hearing. But Chelsea are preparing for this boy, because first of all, he has the City Academy mark, a player who started everything at Manchester City, and so Cole Palmer, Romeo Lavia, Enzo Maresca, Liam Delap. This is really typical at Chelsea. They love to sign a player who has been part of Manchester City project at the beginning of his career, and also a coach like Enzo Maresca. And in the case of Bino Gittens, I expect the negotiation to go quite fast, because also the player is keen on the move. The conversation started, and also a winger left Chelsea today, and it's Jadon Sancho, who is not going to stay at the club. £5 million penalty clause will be paid to Manchester United. So Sancho returns to United and will be sold again. I think in the next episodes of DAZN Transfer we will mention Sancho, but today Chelsea are prepared to go for one more winger, and we mentioned Bino Gittens.
So which percentage will you give to Bino Gittens?
My percentage is 65%.
65.
Yeah, even more optimistic than Maignan, because I think Chelsea will try to be also quite fast on this one. There are more clubs interested from Germany, from England, so here the timing could be a factor.
Let's go now to Manchester City, because they are also interested in Turkey, one of the Olympique Lyon stars. Talk me through that potential transfer.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one for Man City, because they want to sign a number 8 but also number 10. And in number 10 position, the dream target for all the clubs around Europe was Florian Wirtz. They all wanted Wirtz, then Liverpool are now clear favourites trying to close this deal for Wirtz. And so Man City started to explore different options. Ryan Cherki is the favourite. He's a player they love in terms of quality, in terms of potential, also a player they believe can develop a lot in the future. And so the negotiation is starting between Manchester City and Olympique Lyon. The official bid will come soon. And my understanding, so my feeling, let's say like this, for our Irigometro is a 65% percentage, because I think there is a concrete possibility for this deal to happen. The player is keen on the move. Someone told me he already spoke to Pep Guardiola on phone in the recent days, and so this could be a really interesting transfer. You know, maybe he's not so expensive player, but in terms of quality can be a special one, I think.
Do you think that any players from the current squad from Manchester City should be worried about his position, you know, regarding the signing of Turkey? I don't know, maybe there's some departures that Man City are preparing.
I think it's more about the youngsters. So, for example, a player like James McCarthy, there's a player that when he had the chance, did very well also this season. He's wanted by many clubs in England and in Germany, so maybe he could ask to leave. But in the plan of the club is to replace Kevin De Bruyne with a player like Ryan Cherki. So there is space, there is the opportunity to play, not creating any problem internally. Kevin De Bruyne is close to joining Napoli in Italy, and so we know that Ryan Cherki is the player they want to bring at Manchester City.
And now let me ask you about a player that I believe that if I had asked you like 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, I think that the percentage may be higher than the current percentage, because I want to talk about Mastantuono and PSG.
Yeah, this is a very special player. Let's start like this, because this boy is doing fantastic things at River Plate. This boy is really special, left-footed, typical Argentinian flow, so many clubs have been interested. PSG are the clear favorites in this moment, as of today. So my percentage is a 60%. Okay. We moved the 70% to 60 in the recent hours because other clubs are calling. So, for example, Real Madrid remain one of the clubs interested in Franco Mastantuono. There were some problems with the agents involved in the deal between November, December, so this is why Real Madrid have been called in the recent months on Franco Mastantuono, and Paris Saint-Germain with concrete contacts remain the favorites because they already spoke to those close to the player. They want to accelerate. But let's see what Real Madrid decide to do. You know, sometimes we saw, I remember Arda Güler, for example, was close to joining Barca, and Real Madrid were very fast. So when there are these young talents, Real Madrid have the appeal to change the situation in few days, maybe. So let's see what happens there. But at the moment, as of today, we maintain Paris Saint-Germain confident, trying to advance on this Franco Mastantuono deal. 45 million is the release clause of the player. So let's see what happens there.
I see that you keep looking at your phone. Is it related to the Mastantuono percentage dropping every hour?
Yeah, it's always about this, because there are many messages about Mastantuono, but I think that in this moment I maintain Paris Saint-Germain as favorites, because Paris Saint-Germain have worked a lot on this one. In the last 2-3 weeks before the Champions League final, they tried. The director of Paris Saint-Germain, Luis Campos, is a man who loves to sign a young talent. We saw this team at PSG is very young, talented, so Mastantuono will be a perfect fit.
now it's time, not for me, but from the audience to ask you about some transfers that may be going on now or in the future. But first of all, Fabrizio, let me be the first one to ask you about Luka Modric and Milan, because I read in the recent hours that there may be some interest from the Rossoneri, right?
More than interest, this is a dream target for Milan. So that's my information I broke last night, because I'm told that Milan really made contact with those close to Luka Modric to try be fast, to avoid other clubs entering the deal. And so Milan already made a direct contact with Luka Modric. Luka Modric was a Milan fan when he was a kid. We all know that, especially in Italy. This has always been a dream for Milan fans to have a player like Luka Modric. Then in 2018 he was close to joining Inter. That's curious. Then he was about to win the Ballon d'Or and Florentino Perez decided not to let him go, to keep him at Real Madrid. Good idea, I think. But now Milan want to try, because Modric is leaving as a free agent. There are more than 10 clubs from all over the world calling, so let's see what happens there. But Milan are trying, Milan are pushing, and so there is a concrete possibility to see Luka Modric playing in Italy. Remember that Milan won't play European football this season, so Modric has to decide whether he wants to accept not playing European football, while he's used to be always on the big stage with Real Madrid. But it's on the player now. Milan are ready to make this deal happen, so depends on Luka Modric. Let's see what happens.
Okay guys, so now it's your turn via Twitter. So we have your questions ready, and the first one, as you may see in your screens, comes from Mary Anaya, which says, percentage chance that Cristiano will play in the Club World Cup? That's a good question, Fabrizio.
For me, it's under 50% in this moment.
Under 50%?
I think so. I think under 50%, because Al Nassr are quite confident to extend the contract of Cristiano. They presented the plan to Cristiano Ronaldo, who was clearly, in public and in private, not happy with the situation at the club in the recent months. It's been a difficult, tough season for Al Nassr. And they presented a plan about restructuring the squad, changing the squad. So, for example, some players they want to sign. Luis Diaz from Liverpool, a world-class midfielder. I'm trying to understand who he is. We will tell you more on DAZN Transfer in the next days. A centre-back, David Anchko from Feyenoord, a very good player, left-footed, so could be perfect for what they want to build at Al Nassr. I think it's going to be about 4 or 5 signings, also based on outgoings for Al Nassr. And so they present this plan to Cristiano. They are confident to reach an agreement. So I think this is going to be the case for Cristiano Ronaldo to continue at Al Nassr.
So the tweet that Cristiano posted recently, it wasn't a farewell message?
I think he was just keeping all the options open. Like maybe I say goodbye for this season, or maybe it's a goodbye for the future, but he was also probably trying to send a message to the club. Like, okay, it's time to be fast, it's time to move on, because we need to be strong next season. I want to win titles, otherwise I could pick another club. But in the last 24 hours, my sources at Al Nassr were quite confident to keep Cristiano.
Let's jump to the second question from our audience. Here we is, Miguel Puente, who says, Joan Garcia to Barcelona. One of the biggest transfer sagas that we are right now having, and it involves a huge rivalry. Talk me through this transfer.
Yeah, huge rivalry, obviously, with Espanyol and Barcelona, so it's not easy for a player when you have this sort of deal on the table. We have to understand the rivalry, but also at the same time, when you have a club like Barcelona with this fantastic team they have, the ambition to win everything in the future, is also not easy to reject for Juan Garcia. So the understanding is for Juan Garcia to say yes to Barca project. The agreement with his agents is almost done, just about the final details. So I think this deal will happen. They just need some time to fix all the documents, all the contracts, pay the disclose, and make sure there is no problem with the registration. So it's all about formal steps. But Juan Garcia has very good chances to become a new Barcelona player. The conversation is already at very advanced stage. And the idea is to have Juan Garcia for the team immediately, so not going on loan. The initial plan was maybe to send a player on loan in England and then bring him back next season. Now the understanding is for Barca to have Juan Garcia available now, immediately. And so that's an important signing for Barcelona, waiting for the here we go to come very soon.
So thank you guys for all your questions, and we want to keep receiving your questions for the next DAZN transfers. But now I want to ask Fabrizio for some information that I know that he's getting on his phone involving a Spanish player that now maybe he's on one of his lows, but he's trying to find a place where he can be the player that he used to be, right?
Absolutely, and he's still a talent, he's still a young player, and he's Ansufati, because that's the information I was showing you before the start of our DAZN Transfer show. For Ansufati, the story with AS Monaco in France was very close at the beginning of last week, then really complicated over the weekend. There were some problems club to club. The player wants to go to Monaco, from what I understand, but there were some big problems club to club. Now, in the last 2-3 hours, new contacts between Barcelona and Monaco, very positive. Loan deal by option, 12 million euros, not mandatory, so they have an option to consider what they want to do at the end of the season. And then Barca will also have, eventually, in case the deal becomes permanent, a big sell-on clause included in the deal to maintain a future control on Ansufati on the financial point of view. Ansu is ready to say yes, so Monaco are now very confident to sign Ansufati. I think this deal is quite close to happening.
It's not the only bomb that we want to drop here in this DAZN Transfer show, because the last question that I'm gonna ask you, Fabrizio, it's about a player that has a lot of interest from all around Europe, and it looks like maybe he's heading to Manchester. The name is Reinders.
Yeah, and this is our final step of the day with La Bomba de Fabrizio, because
I like the name. I like the name.
Yeah, because Manchester City are not only working on Raya Cherki, are not only working on Ryan Ait-Nouri from Wolves as new left back. They want an important number 8 in midfield, and for Tjani, Reinders, the agreement with AC Milan is very close. Today, new direct contact. Milan, Manchester City. Man City have improved their proposal, and so the agreement is really, really close. It's going to be more than the reported 60 million euros. The two clubs are working on the final details of the deal. Agreement done with the player, so the contract is ready. Reinders spoke to Pep Guardiola in the recent days, as well as Cherki, so this is part of the process when you go join Manchester City. But I feel that the new number 8 of Man City in midfield, the quality player they want, is Tjani Reinders, and the agreement is now very close.
Okay, Fabrizio, so I've run out of bullets. Is my last question. So thank you very much for all the info that you provide us with.